Hey there guys, Prince Laharu-kun here, and welcome to what is both the origin of my username and what might be, no, there is no might be, this is my all-time favorite video game, Disgaea, Hour of Darkness. Oh my gosh, I can't even begin to tell you how it makes me feel to be able to say that. I'm also turning up the volume, so that's why the audio probably just did that weird thing. But oh my god, this is literally the most exciting thing that I have been looking forward to ever since I started doing Let's Plays 4 years ago now. Or 3 years ago. Oh man, I'm so excited, Okay. This is exciting. And I have been planning this Let's Play for 2 years. I have been thinking over and over in my head what I was gonna do for this, and now I have the chance to do it. And I think it's time that I finally start this. So, with that out of the way, let's start the game.
King Krijevskoy, the mighty ruler of the Netherworld. His long reign came to an abrupt end as the news of his death spread throughout the Dark Land. Ambitious demons rose one after another to seize the opportunity. And thus began the age of turbulence and anarchy. 2 years later,
Prince, wake up! This brat just won't wake up. Well, if that's the case, there's only one thing left to do.
What fool dares awaken me, the great Laharu?
Prince! I'm glad you're still alive.
Who said I was dead? I was just taking a nap. Anyways, why are all those weapons behind you?
Well, I was having a hard time waking you up.
Are you sure you weren't trying to kill me instead?
No, I mean, yes, I just wanted to wake you up.
Whatever. So, what is it? You better have a good reason for waking me up.
Oh, yeah. Big news. Your father, King Krijevskoy, has died.
In what? When?
2 years ago.
Wait a second. So, you're telling me that I've been sleeping for over 2 years?
Yep.
Yup? Why didn't you wake me up earlier?
Excuse me, but what do you think I've been doing all this time? The Netherworld has gone to hell while you were sleeping. It's not my fault if some other demon steals the title of Overlord.
What? Have they forgotten whose title they're trying to steal? How bold of them! I shall show no mercy, for I am Laharu, the rightful heir to the throne!
Your humble vassal Etna will accompany you.
Episode 1, Prince of the Netherworld.
And thus begins our adventure in the Netherworld as Prince Laharu. Oh man, that feels weird to say. Okay, so, overworld map. You can run around and talk to people, and this dude right here, Manti, is level 308, so we probably should not mess with him. Holy crap, I don't even know where to start. I'm so excited, I want to do everything at once and I can't. Okay, first thing we do. There is a throne here, and if you go behind this throne, there is a switch. And of course, in any video game, when you see a switch, you must press it. So that's what we're gonna do. So let's go ahead and talk to Manti over here. That's just like you, Prince, taking a 2-year nap. I only plan on napping for about 10 days. Something's not right. Well, I don't think so. Also, napping for 10 days? That's pretty intense. All the royal vassals left the castle shortly after the king died. Even with me still around? Well, you were sleeping. They must have forgotten about you. That's very true, I guess. So we head over here. Now we got more of the castle that we can explore, and hey, this guy looks cool. And he's also level 329. Okay. In order to prevent intruders, I have closed all the gates. Please talk to the Dimensional Gatekeeper if you'd like to leave the castle. Yeah, whatever. You probably just didn't want to watch the gate. Did I mention this game is amazingly humorous? Oh wait, I haven't yet. But yeah, this game's humor is awesome. I love this game's humor. Let's go ahead and talk to Goss, who is level 312. Good morning, Prince. How are you feeling? Couldn't be worse. My body feels really stiff from sleeping too much. And then, yay, tutorial map. Yeah, we're gonna be doing that in this video. And then there's a spear here, but his only purpose is to teach you about weapon stuff. But we'll get into that much later because, oh my god, I have so much to explain. Because there's just so much to this game. And here's a tutorial telling you to buy things. Oh man. But, before we do that first, there is a skull over here on this corner, and if we go up to it and examine it, there's a switch here. Alright, so now that we've pressed that switch, we're gonna do a quick detour real quick before we get into the meat of the game and before I explain things to you guys. So if you come over here to this corner...
Prince, I'm going to the bathroom, okay?
We have found what appears to be a secret chamber involving Etna, with an article in here called My Memory. This is my secret chamber. Only I know how to get in here. This is where my most precious memories were locked away. That I remember, but I can't remember what they were. When I try to remember, my heart aches. This pain is proof of how dear these memories are to me. I have to get them back. So already we have a little bit of backstory on Etna, which is really cool, because you can totally find this during the beginning of the game if you know that it's there. And it's actually pretty well hidden, all things said and done, because you probably wouldn't think to look around here. Okay, so, where to even start? I guess we'll start with the menu real quick. So we've got item equip status, and settings, quit and save, and all that jazz. So we're gonna go ahead and start with item. We have the item bag here, which is where you can bring any items that you have with you into battle, such as this mint gum right here. You can actually use those to heal yourself using items. And you've got the warehouse where you store everything. And it's weird seeing that you can only hold 256 items, because that gets changed dramatically in the other games. One of the cool things about Disgaea, in my opinion, is the way the equipment system works. So when you go to equip on Laharl, you see here that you have a common sword and an Imperial seal equipped. Here's how this works. We're going to unequip these real quick. It's probably not a good idea, because my HP is going to be low. But as you can see here, it says weapon, and then there's 3 other slots. The thing is that characters can equip 1 weapon, and they can equip up to 3 other items. But they don't necessarily have to be armor. For example, you can get shoes that increase a character's movement and speed. But by doing that, they don't get defensive boosts instead. And it's really cool because since you can equip up to 4 of them, you can have characters that specialize in certain areas. Like you can have a character specialize in movement and speed, but they'll suck in defense, and it's really cool because it lets you customize a lot of stuff. What's weird about this game, though, is that if I go to Common Sword and then Mint Gum, it says that it increases my HP to 78 if I equip this Common Sword, but you can't equip it. For some reason, they give you the option of making you think you can equip these items, but you can't. I don't know why. It's very weird. Next up we got status, which, as you can see, my HP is low because I unequipped my Imperial Seal, which is whatever. Here we've got Weapon Mastery, which is... I'll get into much more details, but basics right now, how good a character's stats are, aptitude we'll cover later. Stat resistances to elements and resistance to status ailments. Mana, mentor, pupils, all stuff we'll cover later. And no special techniques learned yet, which we'll see those throughout a lot of the game. And that's your basic menu stuff right now. Let's see, over here we've got Plenaire, who is a very, very well-known character among Nipponichi and just, Nipponichi in general, really. And then there's also this Lisa character over here. We'll deal with Plenaire later, and we will be talking to Plenaire a lot. So we'll go ahead and talk to Lisa, because Lisa says something interesting that I find, well, very interesting that I didn't really think about at the time. There are many features in this game like the Dark Assembly and the Item World, and believe me, we will be covering those. Ask the appropriate people for more info. Don't worry, you can still beat the game with minimal knowledge. That's important to know, because you can. You don't need to do a whole bunch of the extras in this game to beat it. And that's kind of the beauty of it. And again, I will be going into all the extra stuff, I will be covering them the best way that I know how to, and we're gonna go ahead and talk to Zombie, who is a 346 level zombie. Good thing he's on our side. Eat, sleep, and do anything you want all day. It's so good to be a demon. Have you ever thought of working for me? Of course not. Oh, Zombie. He's I don't know why, he's kind of like my favorite of all the demons that are residing around here. We got Sherry over here who we can talk to, and Sherry is the Netherworld Hospital. So in this game, when you take damage and use SP, you won't actually heal after a battle. Instead, what you have to do is you have to go to the hospital. But what's cool is you can earn prizes based on the total HP and SP that have been recovered. So please, go get thrashed in battle. So when we get treated here, we can heal Laharl for 28 Hell. And yes, the money in this game is called Hell. That's what HL stands for. It's kind of weird, but awesome. And now you see at the bottom, we've healed a grand total of 20 HP, 11 SP, and DEC stands for Deceased, which is characters that have died in battle. When you reach a certain point, you'll be able to claim a prize, and that prize will correlate to the stat. And we'll get into that later whenever we heal more, and I'll be able to explain that more, because if I just sit here and do nothing but explain to you, then we'll be here forever. Vilma is for the Item World. That's going to have its own video series, so no. And the game's going to tell us how to save. Because, you know, tutorials. The first game does not handle tutorials very well. Let's just be fair here. So let's go ahead and talk to Aurelia, who is our Dimensional Gatekeeper, and the character we'll probably be talking to the most. She can teleport us anywhere we want to go, and right now, since we just got done sleeping for 2 years, we're going to go to the tutorial maps, and we're going to do some of the battle basics. And this will probably this is going to initiate a cutscene and a tutorial, so I'll probably end up skipping the tutorial part for you guys. But let's go ahead and see Battle Basics 1.
Now then, time for a little warm-up. I feel a little rusty.
Prince, we've got company. How convenient.
Stray demons, huh?
Allow me, Prince. You may be a little out of practice after your long slumber. Don't worry, I came prepared. Come on, Prinny Squad! Get your butts out here now! So, Prince, what do you think of this Prinny Squad I hired? They're my loyal servants. They'll do anything I say.
Are you sure about that?
See? They're loyal.
Does it make sense to beat up your allies before a battle? Anyways, I think we've made those demons wait long enough already.
Hey, you're right. How nice of them to be so patient.
Yeah, that's considerate of them. To show my appreciation, I'll only beat them half to death.
Oh, you're so kind. If I were you, I'd have beat them all the way to death.
Kind? Stop that! That word gives me goosebumps! Damn it! I take it back! I'm gonna beat them all the way to death!
He's still a kid, so quick-tempered. It looks like carrying out my plan will be a lot easier than I thought.
Hmm? You say something?
Oh, nothing at all. So, what are your orders, Prince? You do remember how to fight, right?
Alright guys, and welcome to the very first map of the game, the tutorial map. Here we have 3 ghosts, all of which are level 1 and have random names, and they are very interesting names, I'll tell you that much. Now, let's go ahead and start with the basics. Holy cow. Oh my god. Alright, so, In a lot of different games, you generally choose like in a lot of strategy games rather, you choose a general location for each of your characters to start out with, and it makes a bit of a difference, but not a really huge difference. Well, in Disgaea, how it works is you have a base panel that's, you know, placed at a certain point on the map. When you hit X on it, you have characters you can dispatch into battle. So, for example, we can take out Laurel, and we can move him over here, to this guy, to this ghost. Why not? Now we can also go back to the base panel, and we can take out, say, Etna, and we can move her here. Then we can go back here and take out a Prinny, but we'll move him here, but let's say we didn't mean to do that, we can cancel and just have him go back, and it's like that never happened. And that's generally how the whole game goes. You'll start at a base panel, and then you'll have the ability to move wherever you want, and yeah, it's really simple. I mean, it's really not that hard to figure out. And those are the basics of moving and such. Now, when you're moving next to a character, if you've played Final Fantasy Tactics, that's a really common example to use. You might think, okay, well, you shouldn't attack them from the front, that's a bad idea. Well, the thing is that in this game, unless the enemy outdoes one of your stats, which we'll get into later, you generally won't miss. Missing is not an issue in this game in the slightest. So, you don't have to worry about the direction in which you hit the enemy. So we'll go ahead and have him attack this ghost. And we'll have Etna, actually I don't want to move her there. We'll take out Gairu here, which is a randomly named Prinny. And we'll have, actually we're going to show out something else too while I'm at it, because I want to explain everything at once. Now if we take out Etna and move her next to a Prinny, if we have the Prinny attack, you'll see chance of team attack 50% Etna. That's because if you have allies next to each other and you attack an enemy close by like this using a regular plane attack, you have a chance of getting what's called a team attack. And it's really, and you know, it'll do extra damage. And so, when we do that, it'll, you know, we'll have the chance of a team attack. But I don't want to do that, and instead I'm going to try to see if I can't get a good team attack shown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have him attack that Prinny, and there should be a good chance that we'll get a team attack. Once you've done all of your things, you have two choices. You can do execute or command, or execute command turn. Execute or end turn. If you hit execute, it'll just do all of the assigned actions, but you won't end your turn. Now it's worth noting that these characters that have an E over them, once you hit execute, they can't move back, and I'll show an example of that, so we'll do an execute. And here's the team attack. Alright, so now Gairu and Laharl have gone. And if you hit circle, you'll notice you can't take it back. But, since Etna never technically took place in any attacks and was only involved in a combo attack, we can actually cancel her movement and we can move her again wherever we want. And Etna has a spear and she can attack from 2 spaces away. And I'll get into weapons too. But, for now, we're gonna go ahead and just keep things simple and finish off these 2 ghosts. Maybe. That ghost has 1 HP, doesn't it? And that ghost has 3. Good! That's about what I expected. Oh, and it is worth noting, enemies can and will use team attacks on you. So don't think that only you are able to do those, because they can. Now, I mentioned earlier that attacking them from, like, the front isn't a good, you know, it doesn't matter because it's all about accuracy. I don't know this for 100% certainty, but I'm pretty sure that if you do attack them from the side or back, that it does increase the chances you'll get a critical hit on them. But again, I can't confirm this, and I'll probably have to look it up, or someone in the comments will tell me, and I will be sure to let you guys know. So for now, let's go ahead and do execute. Hit a team attack.
Here I come! Die!
And they do, the animations for those get much more ridiculous the more characters you have in a team attack, so for now it's pretty basic, but you know. Now you notice that even though Etna and Laharl are next to each other, if she attacks Belphegor here, it's not going to initiate a team attack, and that's because we're not right next to the enemy. Anything that has any sort of range on it, or is a special technique that we'll get into later, you can't initiate a team attack, they have to be right next to the enemy. So, let's say that Laharl was right here instead. If I were to attack from here with the spear, we could still initiate the team attack. But because it's got that 1 extra square, we won't actually initiate that. And we got a bullseye. Bullseye at the top means I scored a critical hit. And if you see Nick, which always confused me as a kid, that just means, oh yeah, since he already attacked and just moved, now you... That's the thing. If you attack, but don't move, and then decide to move, it will count as that character taking their full turn, and you can't cancel. But yeah, like, because she can attack from one extra space, that's the slight disadvantage of spears. So, let's go ahead and give this kill to Laharl, just to see if we can get him to level 2. Which we didn't. Experience in this game isn't based on damage, it's based on who gets the final blow. So you could have your strongest character beat on a really high-level enemy, have a weak character come in and finish them off, and that weak character will steal all of the experience. The only exception of that being team attacks. The person that initiated the team attack will get full experience, and only if they, you know, if they killed the enemy. And the people that took part in the team attack will only get half of what the experience would have been. So that's worth keeping in mind. And now we got Battle Basics 2, which I'm not ready to do yet, because I do want to do a little bit of preparation, and I also want to finish up all of the tutorial in this level as well, so this episode's probably going to be longer than most of the other episodes in this Let's Play. Partially because I want to just get the tutorial out of the way, and partially because I'm friggin' excited. It's also worth noting, I skipped over this, but Prinnies have a unique thing in which they will always be recovered, they will always recover all of their stuff with one health, like, even if they're dead. So that's one of the cool things about Prinnies. So now we're gonna go ahead and do some shopping here, and so we're gonna go talk to Heartwin over here, who is the Battle Depot store. And we'll be doing this quite a bit as well. So let's go ahead and see what he's got. I totally thought that he was the weapon store. He's not. She's the weapon shop. Whoops. Oh well. And they're talking about weapon mastery, and I'll get into that later too. I hope I remember to get to all this at some point, because there's a lot to go over. So, we're gonna go ahead and go through all the weapons, and I'm gonna go ahead and quickly name off what all the weapons are, and I'll get into details about those as we use them and explain them in the actual maps when I, you know, am not busy explaining other things. So we've got fists that we can use, we've got swords as you saw earlier, we've got lances, we've got bows, we've got guns, axes, staves, and monster weapons. And those are the weapons that you can use. Humanoid characters can use any of the weapons. Monster characters can only use monster weapons. And that's really about it. Anyone can equip anything, but whether or not they're good with it is determined by their weapon mastery. And again, covering that later. Now one thing I like to do is I personally feel as though Etna plays better with an axe. Even though it reduces her hit, that can be changed. There is a way to fix that. We'll be getting to that later too. So, I'm thinking I might move her to a common axe, but the thing is the inventory isn't quite what I want it to be, so what we'll do instead is I'll go ahead and buy a sword breaker and equip that to Laharl. As you see here, it increases his attack and resistance and his HP. On the right side, you have the stats of the weapon. And there's the rarity, the level, the population. We'll get into that with the item world stuff, because that's what that correlates to. But as you see there, there's HP 2 and a sphere, then there's attack 13 and resistance 2 and another sphere. If we hit the square button, we see here that there are things in there called physicians and dietitians. What these are these are innocents in the item world that are affecting its stats. If you want to just know this at a basic level, just know that that's what's caused by those little spheres, and that's why those stats are there, and that's why when you get multiple sword breakers, they won't always have the same stats because of the initial innocents that are on them. And that's all you really need to know about buying weapons, if it comes to the basics and that's all you care about. So, be on the lookout for those, because those can be really, really helpful, or sometimes not, because they might increase something stupid like intelligence when you don't need intelligence for Laharl on a sword. So, just keep that in mind. So we'll go ahead and equip that, just because it gives him a small HP boost that'll work. And we'll go ahead and sell his common sword, and we're going to sell this RQ22 common. Now, if we back out, but then we go back into the store, if you notice and we're paying attention, all of our weapon options have changed. For example, we now can buy the villager's axe, but we can't buy the battle axe. That's because in this game, anytime you exit and enter the store, your weapon selection or item selection, whichever one you're doing, will change. And it's completely random too. But like right here, as you can see, there's 2 dietitians, one level 3 and one level 2, which gives this axe a total of 5 HP, and a gladiator level 2, which increases the attack of this axe by 2. This is a really, really good axe, because it makes the attack just... I think it makes it better, obviously, but it also makes it so that I won't have to spend too much on buying the other axe. But as you can see here, it reduces hit, and that's the cost of axes, is they reduce your hit. Which is really dangerous, because if you have a hit of 1, again, you don't miss very often, but if your hit is really that low, you're gonna miss a lot. So I'm gonna go ahead and quickly explain why I gave Etna an axe and use her as an example. So, as you see here, we have this thing called Weapon Mastery, and each of the correlating weapons have a rank next to them and a number as well as their symbol. If you notice, the letter represents their proficiency. The higher the letter, which is to say it goes from E to S, with S being the best and E being the worst, the more experience they'll gain quickly with that weapon. Now, I'll get into more of the details later because this kind of goes with aptitude, but just know that this increases your weapon mastery faster depending on that letter. So for example, Etna has an A rank in spears and axes, and that means that her weapon mastery will increase faster if she has one of those equipped and when she uses an attack or special skill with that weapon equipped. So, but you notice that she has a C in guns. That means that she doesn't do so hot with guns. If we move to Laharl, Laharl has an A in basically everything except guns and rods. Laharl is pretty OP for a long part of the game. But yeah, with Etna, that's why I like to give her axes, because I prefer axes over spears just for their raw damage. And that's generally what I do with her as a character. And Prinnies, as you see here, they don't have weapon mastery, because it says at the bottom, right there, Gairu cannot master weapons. So that's the disadvantage of monsters, a really big disadvantage. Again, more on that later. Because it's also worth noting that if you increase your weapon mastery, when it reaches a certain level, it does two things. Okay, and we're back. That was really weird. The game's music just cut out for some reason. I should point out I am playing this on the PS3 re-release, the Virtual Console version as I call it. So I haven't played a whole lot of it, but I've never encountered the audio bugging out before. I hope that's not an issue with the Virtual Console version, because that would suck. Alright, anyway, as I was saying prior before that weirdness, I was really scared because I didn't want to re-record a 30-minute video. Leveling up your weapon mastery will do two things. One, leveling up the weapon mastery will give you special techniques correlating to that weapon, and two, it will increase the stat gains you get when you equip said weapon. So for example, equipping a spear when its level mastery is 1 will give her a small boost to its base stats, or whatever stats are placed on it at the time. But as it levels up, it gives more and more, and gives you much more incentive to continue to use that weapon as you continue to level it up. And that's weapon mastery at its basics. And really all you need to know, honestly. There's not much to it. So we're gonna go ahead and continue to Battle Basics 2, and from here on the tutorial stuff isn't just... It says skip story, but that's because it's tutorial stuff, so we're gonna go ahead and skip this. Because there's really no story there at all. It's just telling you how to do plot stuff. Or, not plot stuff, gameplay stuff that I'm going to tell you right now. So if we move Laharl here, well, he's a poor example, but we can move to this enemy here. You can see we can't quite make it to this ghost over here. Crap. But there's a mechanic in this game that's really cool. Let's say we move Etna right here, and we move Laharl right here. And excuse me. If we select Etna, there's a new option available to us called Lift. If you select Lift, you'll then have a selection of characters. If you pick up Laharl, you'll notice that Etna has now picked up Laharl in the air. And if we select her again, she now has the option to throw. And that means that she can now throw Laharl to any point on the map as long as it corresponds to her height and the length. Length represents how many panels far you can throw, and height determines the diameter in which you can throw them from. So for example, this right here is 6 diameter, and this is 8 diameter. If you're standing on a 6 diameter, that means that the Etna can throw up to an extra 32 diameter, which means that if this were the maximum diameter height she can throw is 40. Because if you take, if you take 32 minus 6, or wait, if you take 40 minus 6, you get 32. And that's how you calculate that. I'm already getting mathy stuff. It's worth noting that Prinnies will explode when thrown. I'll show that off real quick with Laharl just because I feel like it. If you pick up a Prinny and you throw it, it will explode. The damage that Prinnies do is based upon their maximum HP, and the damage that they do when thrown at an enemy will be half of their HP rounded up. So if they have 1000 HP, a thrown prinny will do a 500 damage. If you do this, however, you will get no experience for it and no money at the end of a map if you decide to kill an enemy that way. Thus, I don't recommend throwing prinnies pretty much ever. So, with that done, I probably should have used Etna, but whatever. It doesn't matter, these maps aren't hard. We're gonna go ahead and do some of the map. And believe me, you will see me use the lift and throw strategy a lot. I also am just imagining right now that everyone that's ever played Final Fantasy Tactics is like, why did you leave your prinnies facing this way? How could you do that? And I will compare this game probably to that game a lot, because that's the game most people probably know. Okay. We're already in the first episode, and I'm gonna talk to you about an issue I already have with this game that they fixed in the later games. Notice how I had this prinny attack him after I had Laharl attack. Laharl got the finishing blow and killed the enemy, but now as you notice I can't select any of this stuff. Because if I move this prinny, bam, his turn's done. For some reason, if you have characters attacking an enemy and one character kills it and the other enemy characters have not attacked said enemy, it will instantly count as though these characters have attacked said enemy, and they will not be able to do anything. It's really dumb, because it basically means that if you're not prepared, you won't be able to determine whether or not you'll be able to kill the enemy, and it's just kinda not cool, because it can mean that a character can be left in the dust. Also, those two just got 2 nicks, and 3 nicks. Good. I hate these things. These freaking they're called hobbits. Yes, hobbits. All them nicks, and it's because their hit's low. Like I said, accuracy is not a big deal, but it does determine whether or not you will nick the enemy, and that's not anything, that's something they got rid of in future games, and for good reason. Because honestly, you just want to get as many bullseyes as possible. Which is why I think that, see, she only did 6 damage there, and he got another nick. And that's because his speed is actually 16, and his hit is 8, so with their combined hit, they're gonna get a lot of nicks. Like that, see? That's what your hit rate will really determine, isn't so much misses as it is nicks. And I kinda wanna test out a theory next turn, assuming they don't move, which they didn't. But he... Wait, what? Did it poison him and just not... See? Okay. I'll take it, I guess. Why not? I will take it. And that's Martin! Yeah! So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have Martin attack him and have Etna get the finishing blow, so that she can get all the experience after he nicks the enemy. My theory did not work. I was thinking that the side would increase his chance of not getting a nick. It didn't! Man, these prinnies suck. Prinnies suck major balls. They really, really do.
Here I come! Yeah!
Because, like, you notice Laharl's just getting bullseyes left and right. That's because he has really good stats. And he will continue to be a boss. So now that their turn is over, we're gonna go ahead and finish this off. I do want to see if this works, because he did get a whole bunch of nicks, and I'll see if Gyru can get a not nick from the back. Okay, yeah, hitting them from the back does increase the likelihood of getting a bullseye. Because he went from doing, like, nothing to 8 damage. So, being attacked from the back is bad. I don't know what I was talking about earlier on. We're gonna go ahead and do Geo Effect, because this is the last tutorial map, and it is also the easiest. Because Geo Effects are a big thing. Holy criminy. Okay, Geo Effects. As you can see here, there are triangles that are scattered around the map. They are placed on certain symbols, and these symbols and colors correlate to an effect. The symbol here is giving off an effect. In this case, it's hell plus 50%. That means that anything killed on these tiles will give hell plus 50%. But you also see that there's also an experience plus 50%, and that's being given off by this one right here. And as you notice on the blues, however, a defense plus 50% bonus is given to anyone who ends their turn standing on a blue sphere, or a blue square. So, with that in mind, you would think that it would make, and it does make logical sense, to kill these guys while they're standing on the red square. But let's give a hypothetical situation. let's say that instead of plus 50%, these were minus 50%, meaning that killing these enemies would give you half % experience. By the way, that doesn't exist, but I'm using it as an example. That would mean that that would be a negative effect, and believe me, you will see a lot of negative effect geo effects in later maps, because they get jerkish with it. Like, there's defense minus 50%, attack minus 50%, and so on and so forth. And they do stack, so if there happens to be two symbols that are plus 50%, this will stack to 200, can't math, to 100%, meaning that anything standing on that would be doubled. Or, in the case of, of the other thing, it would be completely halved. Not good. So, let's pretend that these are negatives. Well, as we can see here, there's red and there's blue, and as we see here, there is a blue symbol located on a red square. What do you think happens if we were to, say, destroy this symbol? Well, let's move on to this square, and we'll find out. I leveled up off a geo symbol. Hell yeah. Notice right there that even though it was doing 5 damage to all those enemies as it was passing by them, that it still did 15. When you set off a geo reaction, any color that's sitting on one of those squares will always kill it, no matter how much HP it is, no matter what level it is. And as you see, it's starting to progressively do more and more damage, which is why I had Laharl stand on that square, because that square is unaffected by the effects. And that kills the last enemy. And we get a geo clear bonus, which causes a really loud bonus gauge to go up. I should probably lower the sound effects, to be honest, and I'll probably do that for the next episode, because I forget how loud this game is. I also have it turned up pretty loudly on my computer as well. And now we get all the bonus gauge bonuses, which I'll talk about later. Ooh, we got a muscle brawn. And I'm starting to get the hang of things again, yeah! Okay then, are you ready to request some allies at the Dark Assembly? There you get to create characters who will become your loyal pupils. Loyal pupils. That doesn't sound like a bad idea. Alright, let's go! And now the game is going to tell us about that, but we're not going to do the Dark Assembly in this episode because this episode's already gone on long enough, and I didn't really... Well, I kind of did mean for it to be about 30 minutes, and if with all the stuff I've been cutting out, it should be about a 37-minute part. Oh man, we will talk about the Dark Assembly next time, because what I plan to do... Oops. Yes, I have. But Zombie here is going to give... Zombie here is going to give us 300 health, because Zombie is the best. And I'm actually going to do that real quick before I end the episode, before I do actually forget to do that. So, with that, you guys, we went ahead and got through the tutorial levels, and we had some fun. We learned about the new characters, we learned how to play the basics of the game, and oh my god, you guys, I cannot even begin to tell you how excited I am to do this project. In fact, at this current time of recording, I haven't even finished recording all of Super Mario Advance yet, and it's like, I just want to record this game so badly. You probably won't even see this until like the end of next week when this is being recorded, and I don't care because I just wanted to record this game so bad, and I can already tell that I'm really excited and happy and really bouncy talking about it, and that's probably how I'm going to be most of the recording sessions because I love this game so much. And I tend to be really explaining when I talk about it. You can ask any of my friends. Anyways, long outro is long. So, in the next episode, we'll go ahead and create some characters, and maybe we'll find out just exactly why this episode is called Episode 1, because that was just tutorial stuff. So there might be more to this episode than we think. Alright, guys, and with that, I have been Prince Laharl-kun. I will see you guys in the next episode of Disgaea, Hour of Darkness.